Hey everyone, it's a quick one this week. I'm doing a lot of prep for the thing I'm about to say, and going through some of those same motions, ups and downs that call to the forefront our care of the artistic mindset. A quick checkup on the tires, brakes, and fuel before we send you out for another dozen laps of art learning and art making. Oh hey, it's that thing I couldn't quite say at the end of the last video, and that I'm saying now. It's like purred happily is in the room. I'm very excited to announce that I'll be at this year's Lightbox Expo online from September 7th through 12th, which means the virtual booth's coming back. We'll have streams, we'll have an exclusive sale, and a few cool things I'll be able to announce closer to the show. You won't need a ticket to tune in on twitch.tv/BiggleDenizen or take advantage of the sale on brookeseggleston.com/shop, but tickets are cheap and a cool way to check out the rest of what's on offer. So, what usually happens on a pit stop? Well, I can actually tell you, as someone who legitimately worked in various roles of the pit crew for many years of my life. Normally this would be some kind of joke, but this is real. It's my dad's business, he still does it, I helped out growing up, and as recently as a few years ago, will occasionally help out. Now, besides things like checking on and hydrating the driver, the nuances of the gearbox, mechanical difficulties, or a straight-up fire, you can simplify the elements of a pit stop, at least for our purposes, into three things: fuel, tires, and brakes. Sometimes a pit stop is a blindingly fast 8 to 11 second race of its own, where the car is in the air, the tires are changed, and they're back on the track almost instantly, probably faster than I just said that. In some of the longer endurance races that we were accustomed to, fashioned after the 24 hours of Daytona or 24 hours of Le Mans, there were mandatory 5-minute pit stops that really ate into your lap time and added a level of strategy of their own. If you could take a 5-minute pit while everyone else was crawling along under a double yellow, you lose a lot less of that time. No matter what, the goal is the same. Does the car have enough of those three things to keep going? So as artists, let's link these three things to what we're used to, starting with the tires, which is going to be our output. Something I've talked a lot about on here before is my own propensity to burnout, or succumb to exhaustion under the weight of my artistic output. Now, everyone's energy is different, but a common response that I'll see to me talking about the burnout of artists working at a professional capacity or output is someone saying, well, I never have to deal with that. I just draw what I want when I want. Perfect solution. Now, here's the thing about that. That's fine. As a hobbyist or someone in a similar position, you have no external pressure to create something other than your own motivation, which will ebb and flow constantly. But here's the thing about race tires. These things are expensive, and they wear out incredibly fast. They aren't the rigid, durable, all-weather tires on your minivan that you replace every few years. These are made of a relatively soft rubber that is heating and cooling and experiencing friction at high speeds. So you're just going to go through them faster. If you keep driving on bald tires, you're incredibly prone to accidents or blowouts, and that's true in I want to say real life, I mean on regular cars. So these are tracked rigorously, the amount of times that they've heated up or cooled down, whether or not they have a flat spot, that's where the brakes drag them along enough to flatten part of the tire, it's all important. So the analogy to art here should be pretty clear. You can't endlessly press on at a high rate of output without experiencing some kind of mishap. Something I'd like to personally get better at is being more aware of or tracking my output over time. Sometimes I forget that I've come off of a big period of crunch with little rest, and I'm wondering why I can't just hit the ground running again, or I only give myself enough time to immediately go in to a new work project without warming up, doing any sort of studying or fun work, and expecting a flawless output. This week, I definitely had a couple of days of wheel spinning after a lot of work and activity, which is frustrating. But over time, I've recognized that the mind and body, once you cross that threshold, is kind of just going to do what it needs to do to recover, and there isn't too much you can do to fight it. So in the moment, though, it feels like you're worthless and have never gotten anything out. You've never made anything. I can look back over the course of the pandemic and, as a knee-jerk reaction, think, yeah, it's been really rough, which it has. But when I actually measure it in weekly videos and in monthly illustrations for trading cards and all the elements of the backpack and redoing the course and working on Stormfellers behind the scenes and moving, yeah, maybe my output's fine. Take that into account when budgeting out time and you should be okay. I wish people didn't have to overdo it and burn out. Maybe that's a case where you just have to go through it yourself to figure out your limits. If you want to be in for the long haul or make a lot of work, it's worth figuring out a sustainable output. Like we said in the not drawing everyday video, just because you have some sort of personal maximum doesn't mean that that's your regular standard or even minimum. So let's move on to the brakes in a similar location on the car, but very different artistic mindset analogy. It's about patience. So here's the thing, the passion and drive is super understandable. We all want to get to the next level. Put into perspective, though, the amount of time, measured in years, that it takes for someone to get really good. I could name every video that I put out something really clickbaity, like become a pro in 10 minutes. But it's nonsense. It's a discredit to the people you admire that took 10 or 20 years to even begin to master their craft. I think like 3 to 7 years is a good barometer of consistent work put into improvement in order to be proficient or to get hired, for example. Now, I had an interaction this week, no ill will to the person involved, where they were so eager to improve everything at once at the detriment of learning something foundational one bit at a time. So my whole goal starting this channel was to create the resources I didn't have when I was trying to learn, but I have a hard time believing that, in general, you can just digest and instantly improve without putting in some dedicated practice. And it just isn't possible. You have to put it in. This is a long game, so make sure your brakes work for those crazy twists and turns that life throws at you. It's my analogy meter. It's in the cutesy territory. Last thing to check is fuel. I think the last time I was at a race, the race fuel was like $9 a gallon. So that's the good stuff. You owe it to yourself to have the right quantity and quality of rest in order to recharge properly. Otherwise, looping back to the tires, you're going to get depleted quickly and run out. We've talked a lot about this before, but getting recharged with either physical exercise, a little bit of the outdoors, time with friends and family, and getting enough sleep, you need it. And I think part of the reason that race fuel is so much more expensive is not just how much power is in it, but the chemical makeup of it. So if you figure out for yourself what things help to recharge you, or what things you often forget to include that's necessary, like getting a little bit of exercise, or making sure you have enough water, or that you're at a caloric deficit for some reason, figure those things out and maybe keep track of them or keep a record of them, something close by every time that you're struggling. Am I going through a really esoteric giant problem that all stems back to a personal failing of myself, or do I just need a little bit of trail mix on hand? I hope you can keep reevaluating how you're doing, not to second guess yourself, but just to be strategic and min-max those stats. Don't just take 11-second pit stops, try some of those 5-minute pit stops and see what you get from it. Small chance I won't be able to put a regular video out next week. I just want to be able to focus on being ready for Lightbox, and maybe, just maybe, we'll reevaluate the weekly video thing going forward. There's things to think about. Thanks for being here. Hope this helped. More art and exciting stuff soon. You can get my course Learn Character Design at learncharacterdesign.com. You can get Biko's backpack, which looks like this month, over on patreon.com/bageldenizen. And of course, at bageldenizen on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. And someone's going to have to tell me what I should be doing with TikTok. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun creating.